You're listening to On the Road, a law enforcement journey. Hear from those currently on the force while getting an insider view from what it takes to become a law enforcement officer.
All right. Welcome to episode number 6 of On the Road, a law enforcement journey. So today I'm going to do a recap of the first week, what it was like to go through the academy for me. Again, I'm not going to give the name of the actual academy probably until after I'm done with it. And after this first week experience, I think I might go a little bit, I want to say a different route with what I'm doing here, but I know I've been bringing on and still plan on bringing on law enforcement officers, those who've been in the service or been on the force for, a year or more, who made an extensive career on it, to talk about their experiences and what candidates should know. I'm actually going to try to get some of my other colleagues who are on the academy with me to see if anybody would be interested in coming in on discussing their experience, because most of them are going through career transitions as well. Some of them pretty significant after, almost, I think one was like 13 years dedicated to his job before switching over to law enforcement now. So let's get into it. So I didn't feel like I was nervous at all going up to the academy. The biggest thing is not knowing what to expect or what like a routine's going to look like or what the schedule is going to be like. Is paramilitary, is that what I'm expecting, or is it a smaller version of it? So my experience like that, prepare for the worst, and if it's not the worst, then that's that's a positive, I guess. So the weekend, I was literally shining my boots. I mean, I asking my wife and everybody there, do these look shined enough? And same with my uniform, trying to get the creases to show and make sure there's no wrinkles in it. And what we have for a uniform for our pants, for our trousers, is cargo pants, and they are really, really hard to get a iron crease to stay in there. And unfortunately, mine, even though we did a fitting for our uniforms, my pants were still big on me. So I gotta give a shout out to my wife for hemming them up for me. So now they actually look like they belong on somebody who's 5'6" like me. So I was expecting the military show up and it's full blown inspection, and if it looks like crap, everybody's getting smoked and all that kind of stuff, which ain't necessarily a bad thing. So I felt like I was fine. I got a good night's sleep. Monday morning comes around, so our start time was 8:30 Monday morning, and I got an hour drive from my location. During that drive, of course, the nerves started kicking in, stress, because it's like, oh shit, this is about to actually happen now. Like, and you start thinking about, what if this happens? What if this happens? Or, can I really do this? And I'm 35 and I've already made this commitment, and it's a big commitment, and I can't back down and stuff like that. And, all those typical nerves that go on when you're going out of your comfort zone. And, that's our biggest downfall as human beings, is we like comfort, and that stops us from being successful. So once we got there, the academy, went into our little waiting room there. We showed up and we didn't have PT that day, so we didn't show up in our PT uniforms. It was wear your uniform, so your black boots and your top with the tie and cargo pants and stuff like that. And of course, I'm still worried. Is this ironed enough, and is it going to look professional, or does it look sloppy? And a lot of that is just because you don't want to stand out. Your first impression says a lot about you. You don't want to be that one, especially because coming from, the 19 weeks in the military police boot camp thing, you don't want to be the one that causes mass punishment or causes a bunch of headaches for somebody else. So you want to start off on a good foot. So we get there, we go in our little designated room where we were told to be at, and There's a couple of us in there. Just give you guys an idea. Our academy is really small this year. We have 9 people in it, which is phenomenal. I'll get more into that later. And as this academy goes, but it was like, boy, like 8:15, 8:20, and I'm just looking around. I'm just like, you know what? For paramilitary, this is pretty damn chill. Like, so my alert level started to go down a little bit. Shame on me. Um, we're all just chatting up a storm and getting to know each other and all that stuff. And 8:30 comes, those doors swing open, and in come the drill sergeant yelling and screaming. And you know, I've been through that before. Obviously, when you got a company of 120 people and you got multiple drill sergeants, that's a lot of stress. Not saying this wasn't stressful; it definitely was. I haven't experienced anything like that in over 12 years, so it was still a shock to me. And if it was a shock to me, somebody who's never experienced it, I'm sure it was a shock to them as well. Um, but we did a lot like what the military first did the first day. It was all learning the basics and the how to properly how to render a salute, how to march, how to set up for a PT formation, um, how to set up your gear, like, or even in the classroom, how to properly sit up, or how to before class starts and how class ends, what's expected of you. um, so we literally went through a lot of that stuff of um, standing behind your chair and, all right, everybody, fall in and do formation, and then, oh, everybody's chairs aren't put back properly and stuff like that. So then you get hemmed at for that. And all this stuff is huge to anybody that's never experienced that. You're going to be probably going in your mind, this is stupid. I don't get this. Why are we doing this? But I mean, I'm telling you right now, a week into it, a lot of the people who probably never experienced that, our little group is squared away right now. It's huge on pride and working as a team to make sure you don't look like crap. You're setting a standard, especially for law enforcement. You want a high standard, and you want to make sure not only are you abiding by that standard, but your colleagues or your peers are as well. Um, when that's frazzled, especially when you're trying to make sure your stuff's good to go, but then everybody's kind of not knowing what each other's doing, and all your stuff looks different, and learning how to dress or make it look the same all around. That was the better part of the morning. Of course, we did your typical push-ups and jumping jacks and stuff like that. That was good. I'll get more on the PT part of things like that. I love PT, so that really wasn't. Not saying it was easy, but that doesn't bother me. I love exercise, so anytime we get to exercise, I see that as a plus. So then our morning went. We didn't get to shower or anything. We got a very short break before our first class and stuff. So our first day was a lot of the expectations. How are you going to start class? How are you going to leave class? How are you going to start your breaks? How are you going to leave for your breaks? How are you going to march down the hallway if anybody from the academy or an instructor walks by you? What's your reaction going to be? And for us, it's you go to attention, put your back against the wall, and you give the greeting of the day. Unless it's a drill sergeant, then you go to Eddie's and give the greeting of the day. So very similar to what the military was like. Make sure we're doing a lot of things. Anytime you pass like the memorial placard, which I really like, you render a salute. So all that type of stuff is building discipline, pride, and accountability towards each other. It doesn't seem like it at the moment, but it really is. And I really love it. It's intense. It gets your heart rate up to your nerves. When you get frazzled like that, your ability to think and, oh crap, go through the process of, is this in the right place? Does this look even? Or are our tables lined up? Is there a gear put away the same way? Then we're all looking around, and the first time it takes a little bit. You got to communicate with each other, and that started to happen. First day, the rest of the classes, a lot of the welcome stuff. We got issued our duty gear and had to go over that, inspect it, and stuff like that. It was I want to say a very long day, because we got out just a little bit early. It was long in the sense of the stress because nobody knew what to expect. And once you get those expectations and when you kind of have an idea what a day is going to be like, it kind of makes it a little bit easier of, all right, this is how things are going to be. If you don't like it, as the drill sergeant said, not everybody's made for this. If you don't want to be here, there's no dishonor in that. Just walk out the door. That's okay to take the high road and go, this is not for me. Our class, nobody did that. For people who do feel that, I think you have to give yourself more time. Once you get through the actual training, the scenario based stuff, and you start going, boy, I really have a hard time thinking through all this, or none of this makes sense, or I'm just not getting it. Like I tend to freeze. Then that's a pretty good indicator that this is not for you, and you're better off leaving at that point, because you are going to be a risk to not only yourself or your colleagues, but more importantly, the community who depends on you. So I got back home at night, and as soon as I get home, I want to. My wife, I'll say more about this later, but she's been a big help in making sure, not making sure I'm prepared, but helping out that I'm prepared for the following day and stuff like that. So we get home, pressing the uniforms again, steam pressing, reshining the boots, like hitting them again to make sure it's up to square, up to par. Because there was comments about that during our first day. Some of you don't look like you shined your boots, like you took them right out of the box, uniforms wrinkled and stuff like that. There was no calling out people, because that's their opportunity to, again, apologize for any language if it's offensive to anybody, but get your shit together and fix it. Like these are the expectations. You need to fix this shit before you come in here. So day 2, woke up. I get up at 4:15 every morning. It allows me to, like now, read over any material that's coming up in the classes, or to go over stuff from the previous day. But make sure I get a good breakfast, take the dogs out and stuff before I make my hour 15-minute drive to the academy. Day 2 felt a little bit better. And talking to some of the colleagues, some of them actually felt more nervous on day 2, because day 1 is more of the introduction. Here's expectations and stuff. Day 2 is full blown on. This is academy now. We're training. This is going to be part of your everyday routine. You know what the standards are. You better be performing those standards. So we get to PT, just to keep you guys all in the loop a little bit. All right. So one thing from day 1 that helped us off the bat is our PT uniforms, because all this COVID stuff going on, some of the uniforms got delivered late, and this was we ordered months in advance. So this is nothing on the organization's academy or anything like that. But you don't want to come up, and the drill sergeants made this very clear day 1. Do not be wearing different things, because you don't want to stand out like a sore thumb. You want to look uniform, like you're a part of a team, not everybody's looking ate up and doing their own thing. So before we left the day for day 1, all of us got together, which this is huge, taking the initiative to find out what are we wearing. So everybody's on the same page. For us, it was a black performance shirt, because that's part of our required uniform. Those are easy to get, with black shorts and black ankle socks. So we were all on the same page for that. Thankfully, on Tuesday morning, everybody showed up in that. Again, more of the stress on day 2 of getting the formation right. Why are we not following instructions? Such as like anybody who's been in the military, if you've been through the academy before, for your exercises or for your instructions, you got the preparatory commands and the commands of executions. Setting up for PTs is exactly the same way for the most part that we did in the Army. So that was easy for me. I already knew what to do. But it's so important to list those commands. So when we were doing like arms downward, and people would start dropping their arms, and then you get the whole, why you can't follow instructions? Did you already forget for a day? How are you gonna remember anything from criminal law? All that, which is very true. It's, you got to follow instructions. But again, when you're under enormous amount of stress at first, you tend to forget those little things, which is part of the process, because as you grow, you get better at that. If you stink at it or you can't get it and you quit right off the bat, well, you're not making yourself a better person or a better professional. So that's just part of the learning process, part of the experience. It's very beneficial in my mindset for everybody to go through something like this. Then the fun stuff actually started. Our class, we didn't get the shower after PTs. We stayed in them. We had our first introduction to subject control, which I wasn't really sure what that was. It's self defense or defense tactics, and our instructors. And I'm going to say this so far. I mean, it's only my first week, but our instructors are really, really good. They are passionate about what they do. They set high standards. They want everybody to follow those standards, and they want to help everybody because they don't want anybody going on the street not knowing what they're going to do or being below the standard, which is phenomenal. I learned a lot more from a lot of this stuff in my first day. I think we had 7 or 8 hours of this. I learned a lot more with this than I ever did in my 19 weeks of the military police training of combative self-defense. Our first time was just basic. I'm not going to get too much into details because I just don't want to give all that stuff away, but I at least want to have some sort of an idea. But like how to basically, what are the basics of throwing a proper punch? Open palm hitting or open hand hitting somebody. How to throw kicks, stuff like that. And then getting to practice those as well as learning some of the basic pressure points. And I forgot a lot of those, and I forgot how effective they really are. It was a couple of days after. I think my neck still feels a little bit in some of the areas where those pressure points are, but it is so important. And I'm glad they let us practice those on each other. And that's one thing I liked about the military is you have to know how it feels on yourself. Like going through it yourself, you know how it feels. So when you put it on somebody else, you can empathize or you can have a little bit of sympathy with them, but you also know it works because like when you hit that mandibular angle, right behind the ear and you do it properly, that hurts. You will drop and tap and okay, but and follow instructions. And that might not be the case. Our instructors, they give different avenues. One thing I really, really like is they stress, and all of our stuff is it's just a tool. All of these are tools. The one thing you have to watch out for anything, especially even like the pressure points, is it might piss some people off and make them want to fight even harder. So you have to be aware of that. And like when it comes down to the subject control and stuff, it's just like MMA. All right. So anybody who learns or knows more than the other person is always going to win. It's a chess match. So I'm a big believer, and I really am going to follow their advice is take wrestling classes, take jujitsu classes. Like once I graduate the academy and get to where I'm going, I didn't want to get ahead of myself saying graduate the academy. But if that's what happens and I get to where I'm going, that's when I want to roll in because there is a huge difference between your calisthenic exercises, your running, your sprints, and weightlifting than being on the ground wrestling with somebody. It is way different and is far more taxing. Now put duty gear on it, and it's just that much worse. So you need to be practicing that stuff. You want to try to avoid as much as possible. I mean, some people might go their entire careers and never use it and never train for it. But what happens if you go the 18 years never using it and that one time it happens and you have never trained for it and you forgot everything? It's probably not going to bode well for you. And I don't want to be in that situation. And right now I can tell my other 8 peers don't want to be in that situation. We have a phenomenal group. I'm proud of them. I'm really happy to be with them. And I think it's part of on the academy we're at. I'm blown away by the professionalism, the standards, how everybody is. It makes me feel good about everything, regardless of how much stress. It's going to be time consuming. It's going to be very stressful. It's a lot. It's a huge commitment. But when they're invested in making quality recruits to become good police officers, you can't ask more for that. We did the basics of some radio communications, how to talk on the radio, and I still got nervous about it. Like, you get called out, just even reading out PowerPoint. All right, call the radio. How would you call this and stuff like that? It's been, let's see, I was military police, but I think the last time I worked the road was in 2000. Oh, 2000. It must have been 2008 because we deployed 2000. Yeah, 2009. So about 2008, 2009 sometime. And we did things just a little bit differently, and which is fine. You're gonna, I mean, regardless of what you learn, you're gonna learn how your department wants it. But as long as you have a working knowledge of it, practice, practice, practice. So even in the car now, as I'm driving back home and stuff, I'm kind of practicing a little bit of those because I don't want to go through scenarios once we get there and you know look it up or look like I didn't study or try anything and look incompetent. Don't want to be incompetent when there's so much placed on you to make sure you're doing your part to make sure you become better. Day 2 is also a lot of us learning about each other's, and we had our 5-minute breaks or 10-minute breaks or even our like half-hour lunch break. It was a lot of us talking, getting to know each other, stories and backgrounds, and some of the why are you here and stuff like that. Which is why in part I want to get, if they're willing to, some of these people to come on here because some of them have some pretty good stories and reasons why they're changing careers. Or I mean, a lot of them have some really good experiences it is, and I'm going to find value in using them as resources to help us help us as a team get through all of this. So day 2 after that was over, felt a little bit better. Once the training started and all that stuff, all right, well, here's a lot to learn. I think the hardest thing was some of the criminal law stuff because, my 8 years now has been fitness, strength and conditioning, nutrition, all that type of stuff. So when we start learning about the different court systems and misdemeanors and felonies and constitutional law and stuff like that, I'm like, holy crap, this is kind of over my head. But our instructors are phenomenal, and they answer questions. They make sure we understand it, and it just takes the part of going home, looking over it, and if you have questions, something doesn't make sense, you just ask to clear it up. And I asked, even talking to some of the, my colleagues and stuff, some of them who have experience with that stuff already, were able to explain it to me. So working as a team, that's huge. I'm so glad it took us like a day to figure it out and start working cohesively together. Day 3, in my notes here, I literally put getting shit together and preparing beforehand. We were communicating the day, before we even left the academy the night before, of what are we wearing for PT tomorrow? How are we going to lay our gear? Because we got to bring our duty belts. I wanted to say, drop your belts. We don't want to waste time by everybody being differently and having to go back and fix it and doing push-ups and stuff like that because we couldn't get it right. Once we sit down and go, this is how we're going to do it, it takes away a lot of the issue because we as a team decided what we were going to do. It was kind of a running day, so our PT schedule kind of looks like it's going to be Mondays and Wednesdays running sprints type stuff, and Tuesday, Thursdays will be calisthenics here and core work, which obviously it's going to be subject to change. I mean, whatever we're going to do, we're going to do. What I liked seeing right off day 3 too is if you're not familiar with Academy PT, or I mean, I can say familiar because it's my first week, but like boot camp type stuff, you can be fit as hell. You're going to get pushed until failure. And that's what you need to experience, because you can always go just a little bit further than you think you can, having that mental toughness when you got your team around you. And, everybody's, one thing I really liked is already everybody's pushing each other, come on, you can do it. Focus on your breathing, all those little cues of trying to help each other out, make sure we're staying in the fight together and not giving up. And that's been phenomenal to see. And that's carried over not just to PT, but, the learning and when it comes to scenario-based training and stuff like that. So if you're having a hard time doing any of that stuff, get together with your team, talk it over. Make sure you're all on the same page. Everybody, it's just not the academy, it's afterwards. You law enforcement or first responders in general, you all depend on each other. You need to make sure everybody's on the same page. We got each other's back. We're trying to help each other grow. You don't want somebody to look lost in the sauce and left on their own and let them fail, because if you let your peer or your colleague fail, you fail as well. Your department fails, and nobody wants that. Day 3, a lot of our stuff too was hazmat and preliminary investigation stuff, which was really interesting. We have passionate instructors. Hazmat's a lot stuff I don't know anything about. And our instructor was very engaging and made a lot of scenarios and experience too, like giving experience scenarios and personal experiences of everything. So we go on day 4 is our last day week. So our academy, so everybody's kind of on track. We primarily do 4 and 5 days a week. Our first week, we're only doing 4 days. I want to say only. It's 12 hours, 12 and a half hour days. And some people have 2-hour commutes. So 2 hours there in the morning, 2 hours back. It's a long day. Day 4, really grooving. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to, even when we're marching in the hallways and all that stuff. Nobody's talking. Everybody's marching. We're all rendering salutes when we're supposed to, calling everybody to attention. And it keeps people off your butt when you have to do that. If you want, you want to set a standard. You don't want to be the group that goes through the academy and makes it look like crap. You don't want to be known as the lazy group or the sloppy group. You want to make sure you uphold a reputation or a tradition of a good culture and stuff like that. Day 4, I was really intrigued and something I'm really happy to learn more about. And I haven't shot a firearm since I left the military. I used to hunt and stuff like that, but I haven't done that in many, many years. I learned a lot of new things. Even with a pistol, which we weren't taught this in the military, which maybe they teach it now, but military police, we were close one eye, you shoot with one eye. Here we're being instructed, so maybe this is new to you if you're a pistol shooter and stuff like that. You keep both eyes open. So I don't know if you've ever done the eye dominant test, but keep both your eyes open, point at something at the wall, close one eye and see if it moves or if your finger stays in place. So for me, I'm left-handed, but I'm right eye dominant. Now, to me, that makes sense of, well, that's maybe why I had a little bit hard time trying to qualify with a pistol in the military. Not saying I failed, but I didn't get like expert and stuff like that. But we were always told to keep the, left-handed, your left eye's open, your right eye's closed, shoot at the target. Well, if you're not hitting the target, you must be pulling, so focus on your trigger squeeze. There's a lot more than that. Our first year, we didn't even do anything crazy. It was learning a proper stance, how to hold a gun and focus on your breathing, all that with like an AL or block. But those are some of the important things. And you want to be accurate with weapon. Primarily, if you're a cop, your primary is still the AR and the pistol's the secondary, but you're more often than not going to have the pistol on you. So make sure you're accurate with it. Make sure you practice it. And that's one thing I want to make sure too. Once I get through this process, I know we're going to be doing a lot of practice with this and a lot of actual skill practice and skill training. But even once I'm done and I'm on the force, you got to practice those skills because if you don't, they do get rusty and they go away. So, and being somebody that carries a firearm, you should stay up on that. You should be accurate. Because your target's going to move. It's just not going to stay there like a piece of paper. Then you're going to be moving as well. You're not just going to be standing still, which our instructor made sure that we're going to be made better shots and we're going to be ready to go, which made me feel really good. Again, I cannot say enough about our instructors that we've had here, and this is just the first week, but I feel like I'm in really good hands, and it makes me feel better about the whole process. I got a really good group of colleagues that I'm with. I just put down some questions for myself to answer. How's the experience been? I do not regret this at all. I think this is the best decision I've made, and I really wish I would have done it a lot sooner. So if you're somebody who's looking maybe into going to a police academy, the number one thing is if you have a calling, you feel like you're meant to do something so much more in this life, that you have a higher purpose, you're not doing as much as you could be, that might be an indicator that you should look into something like, whether it be fire, EMS, or law enforcement. It takes a special kind of person to have that natural calling and go out and actually do that stuff. It's just not carrying your own gun and having power over people. It's making a difference in your community and the lives of others. You can't put a price on a career like that. How are the other recruits? I love everybody I'm with. We got one female and it's, 8 males. Everybody Nobody's quiet or sits alone. Everybody's able to talk with each other. We can call each other out. There won't be no feelings hurt, and that's just the first week. I have not felt like anything like this in the strength and conditioning community at all, which in part I don't miss it at all. You're left in the strength and conditioning field, at least through my experiences, you're left on your own, or you work with colleagues who don't have a lot to necessarily relate with you, because you're going to see them one year and they might be out to a different job the next year. Or if you're under somebody, they don't want to tell you all their quote unquote secrets because you might try to steal it from them, when that's not the case. Here, way different. Everybody's trying to help each other out because we're all one team. And I have not felt that since the military. So I love all the other guys and the girl there. I'm going to explain a little bit more on what I really liked, or what made me go, holy crap, this is the right road, here in a little bit. What have I enjoyed the most? I love PT. Again, I know that's just a small part of it, but I've loved everything. As long as you can take something out of it and learn something, which it's been a long time for me. I got a lot to learn, and I'm fine with that. Maybe I can get rid of any bad folders or bad habits I've had and replace them with better ones, because it's been so long since I've practiced any of that stuff. But I love PT. I love being able to help other recruits out too that have questions about training or anything like that, and why it's so important. So I feel like I can bring my knowledge base and make a difference that way too. What's hard? Learning a lot in a short amount of time. 16 weeks seems like a long time, but considering everything you got to learn and a standard you got to set, it isn't. So you got to take every opportunity to make sure you're setting a standard, you're following the standard, and you're doing your part in studying, learning, communicating with your peers, and putting the effort. You have to put in the effort. As with anything else, you get what you put into it. One thing I wanted to talk about was, I think why PT's been okay for me. I mean, I've failed a couple times. Again, you're going to push you to failure, but it hasn't kicked my ass. And I think part of that is because of I knew how to train or how to prepare myself. So what was the final block of training I did? I touched on this in the physical test preparation type stuff with the every minute on the minute and the Tabata training. My 4 weeks of training prior to the academy, I trained 3 days per week. Everything I did was Tabata based. 2 exercise. So example, squat jumps, went med ball overhead slams, 20 seconds, as many reps as you can, 10 seconds the rest. You go to the next exercise. You do that for 8 rounds. So you do 4 sets per exercise. I'm telling you right now, those squat jumps on the second and third sets, my legs, your power output goes completely out the window, which I wasn't worried about, because I know going through a boot camp or an academy, you're going to be put to physically train to failure. So if you don't have the endurance and you put yourself under that stress, you're in for a rude awakening when you show up. I did that for every exercise pattern. It was always 2 or 3 exercise. So either supersets or trisets. So just to go an example off of that, I never did that with Olympic lifts. I want to make sure that's pretty straight. When I do Olympic lifts, it is never for time. It is a explosive power, explosive strength exercise. So that's what it's used for. But I did squats, the same thing. So I'd go squats with dumbbell rows, squats as many as you can go. Like you're literally exploding down, exploding up, exploding down, exploding up. This was with a really lightweight, but it will bag your legs. Same with rows. It'll fry your back. You're pushing and pulling, pushing and pulling, pushing and pulling. As many as you can get in those 20 seconds. You try to maintain reps, or at least come close every set. So for push, again, when it comes to the fitness testing and stuff like that, you have to specifically train for those events. So I didn't use the bench press at all. I used push-ups. So I did like a lower body hinge. So that could be like a TRX hip raise with a leg curl, or an RDL. So RDL, as many as you can, push the bar, to your shin, come back up, make sure you're squeezing the glutes, like as many as you can get. It's not slow. It is all out effort. 20 seconds, 10 seconds rest, and you go into your push-ups, as many as you can get in 20 seconds. Did that 3 days a week. Of course, variations of those exercises. You never do the same exercise. And I don't want to say never, because you can, but I switch up the exercise because I don't want to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday doing push-ups. So one day would be push-ups, one day would be overhead press, and maybe like a landmine press to go back to a push-ups on another day, just to give you an idea. Dumbbell row, you can do rows, you can do pull-ups, chin-ups, etc. I mean, the options are limitless. But that's how I trained. The heart rate was always up there because you are working an enormous amount of, doing a high number of reps with little rest and using light to moderate weight. And I mean, it kicked my butt there that first week. I was feeling it. Second week got a little bit better. Third week, I was just like, all right, I'm able to hit all these reps for every set now. Fourth week, did that. My fourth week, I want to stress, all right? So I said 4 weeks leading up to the academy. That last week before the academy started, I only exercised twice. Why? Any idea? Well, main one is I didn't want to hurt myself. And the big one is I wanted to make sure I had 3 to 4 days to fully recover before I go up because I did not know what to expect come Monday morning. Are we going to get, push-ups, sit-ups, all that stuff? What are we going to be doing? I don't want to be already sore and smoked before we even start doing anything. So that takes us on to this. I did my first training session today. Today's Friday. Again, we had 4 days, so Monday through Thursday was our training. I got up this morning, hit the gym. So here's where it becomes important. I can get more on the active, like if you're on active force right now as a law enforcement officer, I can help out with that training all day long. That's fine. But from my perspective in the academy right now, this is what I would do. And this is what I'm doing right now. So you have to look at what are you getting and what are you not getting. So if we look at the PT of what we're going through the academy, we're doing longer runs. We're doing a ton of sprints. We're doing a ton of push-ups, ton of calisthenic exercises, ton of core work. What am I not getting? A lot of pulling exercises. So I don't want to end up with overuse from push-ups with my shoulders being round and stuff, especially with a population that already sees that and only emphasizes lower back pain. We want to make sure we mitigate that as much as possible. So pulling exercises, and I talked a lot about endurance. We do a lot of endurance, so strength and power. Pulling, strength, and power exercises. So I'm not doing Tabata anymore. I did Olympic lifts. I did power cleans from the floor for sets of 1 or 2 to work on power, explosive strength. I did jumps, just like 3 sets of 5, your very basic stuff, just to reintroduce those and not fry myself doing those. Squats, heavier squats, I did 5 sets of 6. I superset that with dumbbell rows, 5 sets of 6. And then I did lower body just because my back's still feeling a little bit from all the PT. I did TRX, hip lift with curls. I did that a lot higher reps, so I did 12 to 15 on those just because we don't get a whole lot of the posterior chain specifically with training. You do when you're running and you're sprinting. I totally get that because your hips are extending for all those exercise nerds out there. But directly, we do a lot of squats and stuff, bodyweight squats for PT or wall sits and stuff like that. So I want to make sure I hit the posterior chain a little bit more, quote unquote, isometrically. And then I did overhead presses with light dumbbells. Got to take care of the shoulders. I don't want to do more stress on joints that are already going to experience a lot of it. So that's the biggest thing. What are you getting? What are you not getting? Focus on the things you are not getting. Manage everything. Take care of your body. It helps take care of your mind. You got to stay fresh. You got to stay sharp. You want to take care of yourself. Because the last thing you want to do, like I don't want to go through and heavy lifts, say heavy trap bar deadlifts, and like hurt my back and end up with sciatica or something like that, and then really screw myself and then have to sit out a bunch of stuff and then end up being booted out of the academy because I can't participate. I hope that makes sense. It's real simple for training. So our 5-day weeks, I just moved that to a Saturday. It's not always gonna be like that. If I didn't have an hour drive, I would probably try to get one more day in a week, but when we're exercising 4 days out of the week pretty intensely, I wouldn't say pretty intensely, we are exercising very intensely 4 days out of the week. So I'm going to enjoy trying to give my body those 2 days to fully recover to prepare for the following week. Because with anything, as time goes on, you progress. Things get harder, things get more difficult, they get more complex, as they should. And that's how it's going to make us better. Last question, do I regret it? I already answered that. I absolutely do not. I regret not doing this sooner. It is, I enjoy having that sense of pride back. In the strength and conditioning community, you can be, you coach. Not saying I did this, but again, I touched on this before. Show up in a weight room in your sweatpants, grow out your hair all crazy with a full beard, stuff like that. Here, you can't do that. Have pride in yourself. Shave every day. Clean shaven. Hair is not a mess. I keep my high and tight like I did in the military. Uniform. Now I want to make sure I go. My boots don't look like crap. My shoes don't look like crap. Are they ironed? Are there no wrinkles? Or is my shirt tucked in? Do I look professional? Like, I haven't had that since the military. It's been nice to be back in that, to have that discipline again, to feel pride. And I'm representing. I'm not representing an agency, but I'm representing the potential future, of how people view law enforcement. But the big thing is our academy. They pride themselves. I want to make sure I pride myself, so I represent them. So they can be proud of that. And all of us, all 9 in this group, have done that. They're all rolling each other. I mean, everybody's checking over each other, and that's without even asking. I wanted to say this because I almost forgot until this came back. So what really hit me this week, all right, there's some people that are sponsored. So what sponsored means is some people are already hired through a department. They're being paid to come through the academy, and they'll have a job once they're done. So we were being talked to about scholarship opportunities yesterday to make sure you fill out scholarships. Well, it took one guy, and then the other ones that were sponsored did the same thing of, do we need to fill these out? Can we opt out of scholarships? Well, yeah, of course you can, but why would you do that? Well, we're being paid already. Like, I don't need this. I don't want to take away from somebody else who might need that. I'm telling you right now, I've never experienced anything like that in the fitness and the strength industry. Never, ever, ever, ever. When you anytime I've seen when you try to do the right thing, it always comes back and backfires. That was awesome. Like, that says a lot about those people right off the bat. And then we were leaving here in Michigan. It's the middle of winter. We get a lot of snow and stuff like that. Took the initiative. One guy offered to start everybody's cars while he's going out there, and then somebody else was brushing off all the cars. This is 1 week, 4 days of knowing people, and people are doing this for each other. If that doesn't make me go, well, hell yeah, this is great. I love being around these people. This is going to make time go by fast, because it's a great team to be around. And when you enjoy things, time goes by fast. And then, this is all preparation. So you got to take it seriously. Once it's over, it's on to the other thing. But to know that this is primarily what it's going to be like. It's a family. You look out for each other. And to see that within the first 4 days has left me speechless. And it's made me refreshed. My wife has even noticed that I'm in a much better mood. I'm much more upbeat. Like, I enjoy things again. I look forward to going to quote unquote work. I know it's going to be stressful. A lot's going to be placed on my family and myself, but in the end, it's going to be worth it. So that being said, none of this would be possible. I got to give a shout out to my wife. She has been so instrumental in helping me to make sure I'm prepared for the next day. When I get home late at night, she's there to help get my uniform, help steam press. She's already had my lunches made for the next day. All of this while she has to take care of our 1.5-year-old son and 2 dogs, on top of trying to help get other things done, because she has a family around here too and stuff like that. It's easier for me. It's going to be hard on them. It's going to be hard on families. It's a big commitment. So I try to thank her as much as I can that none of this would be possible without her, and I greatly appreciate the support. So, as my brother said when I had him on here, having a supportive family, make sure you have a support chain around. You are going to need it, and any little bit helps. Not you saying you have to have people, hey, can you iron this and all that stuff. Like, I didn't tell my wife to do that. She wants to help do that to make sure I'm good to go and stuff, because in her mind too is, I just had a stressful day. I'm coming back. I'm tired. So teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work, not just at work, but with your spouse, your marriage, your life, your kids, everything. Make sure you take pride in everything. Represent yourself how you want to be represented. And remember, character and reputation. Character is who you think you are. Reputation is what other people think you are. They should match. So if you're swaying either way, get your shit together. If anybody has any questions, please reach out to me. I've actually had quite a few people reach out about transitioning out of strength and conditioning into law enforcement, why I did it, that haven't listened to any of this stuff, but why I did it and the benefits of it. And a lot of the same reasons I did it are the same reasons they're want to doing it. So again, if you have that calling, if you feel it in your blood, don't push it off. I did for many years. Go through it, get it done, and you are not going to regret it. All right, so I will be back on here probably next Saturday, because we got 5 days next week. I'm hoping I can get somebody on here. I'm going to try to do that from the academy so they can talk about their experience. Again, we're not going to talk specifics about anything that we're doing or any names and stuff like that. If they don't want to say their names or who they're going to be working with or where they're from, I'm perfectly fine with that, because I don't want anybody putting out information that they don't want to put out there. But if it helps other people go, hey, this person's going through, similar situation what I'm going through right now, and sounds like this is something good for them, maybe I should do that. I'm telling you, listen to your gut, listen to your calling. Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening to On the Road, a law enforcement journey. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or would like to be on the show, email me at ontheroadlaw@gmail.com. And please share this podcast. Thank you.